Hey guys, what's up? Spectr here, and I wanted to do part of this read-through in person so that you could see that I'm a person who can just read and enunciate well and not using AI. Anyway, Cyberpunk mods. Let's get into it. This video is part mod list, part video essay, and I feel like it had to be, because in the years that I've been covering mods, no list has been this truly impactful. No list has changed my player behavior, has connected me with a game's setting, or made me as hungry to play a game as this one has. If you just want the mods, you can check the description, but if you want to hear why these mods are so incredible together and how I played with them, stick around, because at this point, I don't even want GTA 6. I played this game multiple times in multiple different ways. I've done every life path, I've done variations on the life paths, I've come up with my own stories from different playthroughs, and I have about over 1,000 hours in this game at this point. And I don't think anything has been this fundamentally and literally game-changing for me in Cyberpunk 2077, as in my actual game behavior has changed. I've added a host of mods, including ones that require me to eat, sleep, and relax, and I've also put a limitation where I can't drive anywhere. But more on that in a second. These first couple of mods really set the foundation for moving about the world and experiencing it in a grounded way. The first mod on this list is New Game Plus Native. It brings a fully featured New Game Plus mode to Cyberpunk 2077. It's a huge deal for anyone who's wanted to replay the game with all their hard-earned gear, skills, and progress from a previous save. The mod lets you start a new game with all your character's perks, cyberware, vehicles, and items transferred over. That means you can dive back into Night City with a powerful V from the get-go and experience the story from a whole new perspective, without having to grind all over again. It's a perfect way to check out different builds and dialogue options and storylines. Simply choose your save that you want to begin a New Game Plus playthrough on, and you're good to go. However, after starting a New Game Plus save, you'll only be able to play that new save with this mod installed. Not a big deal, just a heads up. But this is a feature that the community has been clamoring for, and it's cool that we can at least get it on PC. Limited HUD is integral to this immersive playthrough as it keeps your view of the world around you unobstructed. LHUD does an amazing job of dynamically bringing up info that you need when you need it, like bringing up your health and stamina bars only in combat, or the minimap only when you're driving. You can also tweak a ton of settings within the mod itself so that you can find the right options for you. Immersive First Person is another simple mod that lets you see more of your own body when looking down, but it also allows you to free look without moving your body when you assign a hotkey. It's just another incredibly subtle but strong tweak that really adds to the feeling of living in this world as V. V isn't a quiet protagonist by any means, but you mostly only speak when spoken to in vanilla Cyberpunk. Responsive V brings back cut lines in order to help V react to the world around them. Bump into another NPC, V will have something to say about that. Even after you get hit by a car, you'll see V react accordingly.
Learn to drive!
Rounding out this section of the list is Smooth Movement. It simply smooths out your lateral movements in the game to make them smoother as you walk, run, and dodge your way around Night City. Mouse and keyboard players will feel this change especially. As somebody who grew up in New York City, something that always bugged me about Cyberpunk is the lack of cultural crossover. In a real city, you're surrounded by people who speak different languages. It's one of my favorite things about living in a city. Cosmopolitan Night City brings that charm to Cyberpunk 2077. After installing this mod, NPCs will speak their respective canonical language with translated subtitles. It adds another level of reality to the game that I really appreciate. It's so cool to be sitting in some in-game conversations and hearing 3 or 4 different languages being spoken at the same time. And it's a great touch that you shouldn't miss out on.
¿Qué te parece si brindamos por ti? La casa invita.
Inside the ncart station is pretty self-explanatory, as it opens up the numerous ncart stations across the map. Each station is incredibly different and detailed and makes your commute across Night City that much more interesting. Inside the Metro plays well with inside the ncart station incredibly well and allows players to walk around the train as they ride it, get up and get a better look at your fellow passengers, look out the windows, or take some cool screenshots. It's just another facet of immersion that's key to this playthrough. Disabling fast travel and not driving but moving through the city as a pedestrian has really changed the way I play. There's just something that feels so real and authentic about leaving your house after planning what you want to do in a given play session. Going to pick up your payment from Wakako after saving Sandra Dorset is a prime example of how impactful this is, because it's one of the most innocuous quests ever. You're just going to meet a lady at a place and she pays you and you leave. There's really not much to that. It would take about less than 2 minutes with fast travel and less than 5 minutes with a car, but it took me a pretty long time to complete simply by walking and taking the metro. There's something about walking out of your apartment and not looking for a map marker but looking for the actual ncart sign, having to navigate to a place and really learn how to get somewhere. There's also just something about actually learning the metro system and having to learn what lines go where. Navigating that, even making mistakes, and having to deal with those mistakes the way you would in real life. Also the fact that the signage in the train actually updates with your stops and has a working weather and time widget. It's simple and not complicated, but it's appreciated, and if I were driving, I never would have noticed these little details. I also really like that instead of opening a menu and driving to something in 2 seconds and moving on, playing this way made me had to plan out a day for myself, which by extension forced me to plan a loadout, or maybe what I'd want my character to wear if I was playing that immersively. There was also something really cool about catching a late night train back from Pacifica, knowing that I had a long trek back and seeing tired people on the train. It felt like having to take a local uptown train from downtown Manhattan, just knowing I'm going to sleep so well when I get back home. I also found myself thinking about moving player homes and taking into consideration the new apartment's proximity to transit as I would in reality, and how it would change my usual commute, coming down those iconic H10 building steps and heading to the ncart station on the right. In my last playthroughs, I owned every home in the game because it really didn't matter in terms of the fact that I got to them the same way. I drove a car there or I fast traveled there. I found the experience so interesting to the point where I think that maybe, even just to the first act of the game, cars should be removed. Early on, when your car is totaled in the story, it would be cool to have to navigate the world for a bit just using the metro. And I know that that would have been impossible since the game shipped without a working metro system, but to have to live in that world and move through it rather than rocket through it at 140 miles per hour would have been really interesting. Getting back to the mods though, this next section is focused on combat. Cyberpunk 2077 was originally pitched as a highly dangerous world where threats loom around every corner, and while yes, you can complete NCPD scanner hustles and maybe see the occasional chase, vanilla Cyberpunk is a bit tame. These next few mods will make the game feel like a multiplayer lobby where everyone is out to get you. The first is k-ller. For those who wish to go toe-to-toe with Night City's finest, you'll find police and max-tac kills tracked and reported more heavily. Police will drop new loot and weapons, and taking on the authorities more often will result in more street cred and other damage bonuses. Don't expect these fights to be easier though, as police response is ramped up accordingly. You can also take risks by robbing police car trunks for loot with this mod enabled. There are a host of other features that improve the police system in the game, and I highly recommend this mod, even if you try to be a law-abiding citizen in Night City. They Will Remember is by far one of the most important mods in this list. It adds a counter where each faction will keep track of your kills. Take on too many tiger claws, expect the gang to recognize you on sight and react accordingly. Become incredibly hostile to a given gang and you'll find them hunting you across the city, dispensing hit squads to take you down when you least expect it. You also become easier to find the higher your street cred climbs. Want to go through a gang-infested neighborhood without a fight? Either wait a few in-game days for the heat to die down, or disguise yourself to avoid detection. Wearing clothes that cover your face, or clothes that mimic the look of the gangs themselves, will allow you to blend in. This mod is highly impressive and makes the game feel so much more dynamic, and I highly recommend it. Night City Alive is a must-have in conjunction with They Will Remember, and they even have features that work in tandem. This mod takes the danger and ramps it up all around you. Gang members will join traffic more often, civilians are more aggressive and will be armed more often as well. And random acts of gang violence will take place around you, even if it isn't aimed at you. But you can also join in if you like, or watch the craziness unfold from a distance. This is the gritty and dangerous world that was originally promised. It was surprising to walk into crimes in progress across the city rather than seeing the NCPD map marker on them, and noticing things like the fact that there wasn't a lot of NPCs around, or other things that would set you up to be like, hey, maybe I shouldn't have walked through this alleyway. Which of course one would know in real life walking around a city, but I wouldn't expect it given the otherwise more tame experience in vanilla. You begin to learn what the dangerous parts of Night City really look like rather than just interpreting that through a map. Lifepath bonuses and gang corp traits brings more variety to your enemies, as certain life paths and gang/corp affiliations will give NPCs certain buffs depending on their background. Voodoo Boys, for example, will be harder to hack, Tiger Claws and 6th Street receive their own buffs, and so on. This pushes players to find different tactics depending on who they're fighting, and adds further realism and variety to your playthroughs. Ragdoll Physics Overhaul, well, overhauls ragdoll physics in the game. It makes it more natural whenever NPCs fall in combat. It's a subtle change that I never really thought about, but once I installed this mod, I noticed it instantly. It's a simple mod, but an effective one. Dark Future is another essential mod in this list, as it introduces survival elements into the game. Players will be required to eat, drink, and sleep in order to maintain these 3 bars. Nerve is a resource that you'll be fighting to keep high, as you'll suffer a fatal heart attack if it reaches 0. Keep your nerve high by sleeping, eating, and drinking adequately. You can also lower your stress levels by smoking, drinking, and using illicit substances, but you can actually get addicted to those items if you rely on them too often. Starve yourself and you'll see your hands shaking when you ADS. The level of realism this mod adds is insane, and there are so many more features in the mod itself. If you get one mod in this list, it should be this one. During a mission earlier, I missed a vital shot because I hadn't eaten that day. I was aiming at a security camera with a silenced pistol as it was about to scan me, and I missed the shot because my hands were shaking because I hadn't eaten. I had been pushing myself to do as much as I could in one in-game day without taking a break or eating, which is a pretty unique experience in games. I've never said that sentence before. I had ruined an encounter that I wanted to stealth through because I hadn't eaten and missed a vital shot. There's a lot of novel moments that I'm having throughout this playthrough like that, and I think they're just really interesting and fun, and the whole reason for making this list. After grabbing Dark Future, I found myself mostly eating from vending machines. That is, until I found immersive food vendors. This mod makes most food peddlers across the city actually operational, allowing you to buy food to keep those hunger and even thirst levels at bay. This works great with Dark Future, and it's just cool to take a break from questing or fighting to grab a quick bite. Idle Anywhere lets players perform actions like smoking, eating, or drinking whenever they like. What I love about this mod is that it actually works in tandem with Dark Future. So when you select Eat Something, for example, you'll use up a drink or food item from your inventory and replenish that bar, meaning you don't need to go into a menu when you see that your character has become thirsty or hungry, adding to, well, you guessed it, immersion. Night City Interactions allows you to spend time at some of your favorite hangouts with NPCs you've met across the game, like Jackie, Panam, or Judy. And I believe that these interactions even restore your nerve for those playing with the Dark Future mod. It just adds a fun little side activity to the game, and I think it's a nice addition. Speaking of fun side additions to the game, Stock Market and News System adds a dynamic stock market that you can access from any computer. You can read up on news stories as you progress the game's storyline, which may or may not affect the market itself. You can buy and sell stock and cash in. I just love mods that add new things to do in the world, and this has become part of my routine at the end of an in-game day, coming back to V's apartment and checking my stocks before sleeping until the next in-game day. Another little side activity I would participate in after checking my stocks is a game of chance. This mod lets you gamble your eddies and win custom weapons. Every spin guarantees a weapon, with the rewards stacking if you can create a streak. I found it to be a fun little minigame if you're in the mood to burn some creds. With all of these mods, Cyberpunk feels more like a life sim than anything, which is really interesting because Novalis is coming out soon, which bills itself as a cyberpunk life sim in a way that Cyberpunk 2077 never has, and yet I'm perfectly happy with this. I said it at the top of this video, but I don't really need GTA 6 anymore because this game has gotten so immersive. But that's my list and some of the thoughts I have on my latest hyper-immersive playthrough. All the mods can be found in the description below with timestamps, names, and links. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below, and make sure to poke around the rest of my channel for more Cyberpunk goodness. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.